we have finished the previous slide, the previous video from this slide, talking about changing attitudes. If all the previous ones we discussed were how attitudes are formed, we need to discuss how we're changing these attitudes, and this is happening, as we said, through persuasion. And we're going to discuss the process of persuasion and the factors that are affecting this persuasion. Before we do that, I need to show you exactly where we need to work on the... So on our page, on our classes page, we need to remember we are after the attitude formation. In the same page, page number 3 of the social cog, sub page 3, we're talking about principles governing attitude change, and these principles governing attitude change are falling into something that's called elaboration likelihood model, ELM theory, which means that there is a model according to which we probably going to elaborate the messages they're sending us, and we're going to be persuaded. And this is related to the central route of persuasion, where we are thinking carefully on items, and the peripheral route of persuasion, where we are talking about more emotional reaction and less thinking. So if we are going to discuss based on the components, based on the ABC model, I want you to remember the behavior, the B part, is we are going to buy the product that it is sold to us or through advertisement, but the central processing is addressing the cognitive component, whereas the peripheral processing is addressing the affective component, and then the others will be persuaded. And I want you to remember that this attitude change will have to be linked with these specific factors, and the factors we're going to discuss are the source, the message, the audience, and the channel of communication. So it's very important to understand who is telling us what is this person is telling us, and very important, who is the audience? Are they young, easily persuaded, emotional people, or they are very well read experts? Of course, I need to use a different way to persuade them. And the channel of communication, is my communication direct or it is indirect? And this is all blending together, and that's why it's difficult to remember what they're asking you to answer. I want you to be able to come into this website and watch this advertising. It's a very quick one. I don't want to spend time now, but they're advertising shoes, and the shoes are giving the magic, and I want you to understand that these are very famous footballers, and eventually Magic Johnson is coming and say, oh, this is the shoe for me. And when children see Magic Johnson using this shoe, they're going to buy that shoe. So please go and watch it. I will have it on the Nearpod as well, but I want you to be able to watch it on the site if the Nearpod activity is not there for you. Okay, so let's go now to the video, and remember the persuasion, we discussed it last year. The persuasion is the way we are changing our attitudes. Okay, sorry. The persuasion is why we change our attitudes. But if somebody is persuasive, they can present information so good that they can make us change our attitude, even if we are completely persuaded and have a completely different attitude. And this is a technique. This is a technique, and this is an ability. If people can do that to you, they can manipulate you, they can have you a puppet. And I'm going to show you a video of a song. I like it very much because I want you to see how it goes to the peripheral root, and I want you to understand that the peripheral root is actually talking to our basic instincts, which is the food, the hunger, the fear, the sex drive. Centrally, processed information is processed through the logic, peripherally through the emotion. So we learn our attitudes, we said, and I want you to remember that if something is processed centrally, it's more likely to have permanency. If information is changed peripherally, it's not changing. You're going to watch this video on the PowerPoint and the Nearpod, which is the student work you have watched earlier, but I need you to make a comment. That's why I want to remind you this. You will remember it, and then let's discuss the characteristics of the central peripheral route to persuasion. We start with some examples. We said that this is called the ELM model of persuasion. ELM stands for Elaborative Likelihood Model. So they gamble, they try to persuade us. Politicians, parents, friends. If we are going to be persuaded, it's because sometimes we are let ourselves to be persuaded because we want to be persuaded. Okay, what's the central route is doing? Makes the audience to think carefully about the message. First things first. So it appeals to their logic and makes them, with this information that goes deep with research and findings, makes them to pay attention actually to the message, not who is telling them to do something. Then the audience evaluates what was heard, and that's why they often use statistics, they often use logic, because the audience requires the message to be credible, logical, clear. And the product should be focused on the quality. Okay, that's why they say 300 scientists have tested that, and all 400 of them, they have found it working perfectly. Because the product focuses on the quality, and the message has to be backed up by evidence. That's why they say evidence 1, evidence 2, evidence 3, substantiation. The peripheral route uses peripheral cues, okay, feelings, emotions, pictures, humor, requires little thinking, uses images of beauty, pleasure, happiness. Whatever you have seen in last year's movie, and I want you to watch it, into the Truman Show, it was based on the peripheral route. Everything was beautiful, perfect, calm. An audience is often young, uneducated, with negative self-concept. I want you to remember that if a person has high self-esteem and positive self-concept, it's very hard to be persuaded, because it works almost the cognitive dissonance. They are so sure that they have chosen the right thing, even if you persuade them, they do not admit that they're persuaded. Okay, so those who have negative self-concept, they can be more prone to a peripheral route. So what is this EL model? We always have a source, somebody saying something. So we always have a source and a message, and always this goes to the audience. Okay? But the way the process is happening leads the persuasion. If we fail to understand what is this person, we don't persuade them. So I want you to remember these factors: the source, the message, the audience, and this is the channel. I want you to remember this because we're going to discuss later the factors. So the factors are here in the ELM model. The factors are the source, the message, the audience, and the channels. I want you to remember that the channels can be two: the central route or the peripheral route. So they can ask you the word central route or the peripheral route, or they can tell you what are the channels of communication. And then you have to think central route or peripheral route. Okay, but it is part of the processing strategy. So if the audience has high ability and motivation to do something, then we're going to central route. If they have high ability, they are self-confident, and they have high motivation, they're not going to be persuaded. But we need to try and use, if they're going to persuade it, we need to use only the central route. And if they have low ability or somehow they have low motivation, then we talk to the feelings, to the emotions. Sometimes the fear sells. And the result will be the persuasion. I want you to remember what we said: the central route persuasion leads to more elaboration of the message, and of course it's more enduring attitude change than the peripheral route. Okay, and research suggests that attitudes change through central process, these ones, predict behavior better than attitudes change through peripheral process. So if you persuade me logically, I will behave for longer and more stuck to this process of listening what to do. And peripheral, if I go to the emotion, to the fear, I'm not going to stick to that. So if you tell me this is the statistics, if you don't lose weight you will get this, this and that, my behavior is I'm going to be on a diet. If you scare me and say, oh, you're ugly, you look, you're fat bum, or you can't wear this dress, I said, oh, so what? Cognitive dissonance, and I'm keep eating. A politician, for example, who campaigns by delivering speeches, okay, is working, let me go back, is working on this. Okay, is working on these routes. He's trying to work on your emotions. We're going to do this. But if he's talking to people who are aware of the situation, he can speak to their logic. The same here, why we call it elaborative likelihood model. Their elaboration could be in a high level or a lower level. Careful processing of the information or no process of the information. And the route can be central or peripheral. The information processing is very careful, and here it's not careful, so you buy because you want to buy, not because you like the quality of the product. And the attitude change depends on the quality of the arguments, more durable, and I have attitude change. Depends on the persuasion of the clues, and I can be persuaded at that moment and then I can change again my opinion. Okay, so I want you to remember, if they're going to ask you something, I want you to mention all these cues. So it needs careful processing of the information. Central route means careful information processing. at a high level of information, and then more durable attitude change forever. Okay, but it depends on the quality of the arguments. So the central root leads to this persuasion. Imagine a politician who depends on marching bands, waving, celebrity endorsement, emotional slogans, "We're going to save the country." What route is he following? No logic, remember? Impression, a lot of impression, no emotional, let's save the country. This is a peripheral route. Central route means that the people are affected by the strength of the argument, okay? And we need to understand that the issue has to be specific to us. That's it. I don't think that I need to say anything else here, but I will show you this example. And I want you to use the elaboration likelihood model, the ELM model here, to tell me if this poster uses the central persuasive route or the peripheral route of persuasion. And I want you to tell me why. Okay? And we're going to see other posters. Okay? And I want us to discuss in the class if they're going to have the central or not. Okay, so what's this? This is Nazi brutality, Radio Berlin. It's officially announced. All men of lead Czechoslovakia had been shot, the women deported to a concentration camp, the children sent to appropriate centers. The name of the villages was immediately abolished, and that happened 6th of 11/42. And this happened in 10 hours massacre. Okay, children and women went to concentration camps, men were killed. Now, this has happened in Greece as well. I want you to tell me if this poster goes to the central or the peripheral route. Are you persuaded they're brutal? Are they talking to your emotions? Do you see any faces? Is it a happy picture? We're going to see and we'll discuss it, but I'll give you other examples, but I want you to remember that I'm thinking in the previous model. What is the impact of information? Is it high, the impact of information? Yes. Do I have a lot of arguments, a lot of logical information? Yes. So, what do you think it is? Because the impact of the information is high, and the people would read and thought carefully about all the contents of the message, which says, so many men killed, what happened to the women, what happened to the children. So the message is a strong one. It's not like a joke. And the issue is very, very heavy and has relevance, personal relevance to people who have lost their relatives by Nazis. All these make this comment, this poster, talking to the central route. So when you need to argue, I want you to remember, you have to discuss for me this. The level, okay, of the information, how is the message, how is the audience related to that, is it important to the audience, this message, and how relevant is to them. And then we'll understand if it works or not works. For example, you're a smoker. This message goes only to smokers, doesn't go to anybody else. So you're a smoker and you see this which is a lung cancer, this, which is a stroke, this, which is a fat in the veins, this, which is a lung full of tar, this is blindness, and this is tumor. Okay. What do you think it is? Does the poster use the central? What do you think? Is the impact strong? Is the message strong? Is it logical? Okay. What about this message? And we're going to answer that. We're going to discuss in the class, but I want you to remember that using this, it maybe not goes to the central root of persuasion. We're going to see, and we're going to use it. And I will give you some examples, and now you will choose and tell me what you think is the central and what is the peripheral route to persuasion. Okay, few of them. I'm going to give you some answers, and they do it on purpose. It's part of the campaigns. Remember, we're going to discuss campaigns on health issues. So this is related to disease. This is related to smoking, and there is a campaign against smoking, and could be having humor, or could be using the old Marlboro ads, telling that now you're an outlaw, you're smoking outside by yourself, or using this information to persuade you, but it's all part of a campaign to stop the smoking. So it's a public campaign based on a route of persuasion. I want you to remember that, because it will be part of your activity, and your activity, the social cog activity, is related to drinking. So, for example, here, vodka, it's using the symbol of vodka, absolute vodka, absolute Alcoholic Anonymous, absolute hangover, and also other ones, absolute impotence, because when you drink you don't have erection. And all these things we're going to discuss in the class and in assignments. This is continuing to be in assignments. I'm not going to show all of this, but you will have to answer questions from this. So this is the first part of this video, and I have to stop it because it becomes big. This is the first part, which is talking about the roots of persuasion. We're going to discuss the process of persuasion and the factors in the next video.